Good morning, Hollywood family. This is After Dawn, the show where we sit down and have a cup of coffee with the cast, crew, and creators behind Hollywood Studios Productions. I'm Solomon, and I'm joined by my co-host, Grizz.
Yeah, what's up, Solomon? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
Doing all right. We're going to be talking episode 4 of Wayfarer today, Broken Bones. That's correct. Thought it was.
Yes, it is.
Yes, I thought it was Broke and Bones, and I'm like, that would be also accurate, but no, it's Broken Bones. And this week we dealt with the consequences of their actions. Simply put, sometimes you just shouldn't touch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes you just really, really should leave things alone.
And speaking of people who should have just probably left things alone, we have our two lovely stars joining us. We have Scott and Aubrey. Hey, guys.
Hello. I don't know what you're talking about. Isobel didn't touch anything.
It's true. She wasn't even there to touch anything.
So I've been slipping. I've been a terrible host to everybody, and I keep on forgetting. Actually, I forgot just 1 week, but just icebreaker questions. And here's the hypothetical, because I don't know if your characters would ever actually do this, but in this hypothetical sense, who's your character's favorite comic book character, or who are they most like?
So it's a great question.
Thanks.
I think that Isobel has some Constantine vibes, and I think she'd probably be a fan of Constantine as a character.
Yeah, Constantine's dope.
Yeah.
It's really funny that you say that, because I was thinking, like, pattern style, Arthur is patterned a lot after Constantine. But
for sure.
Well, I don't think he would like Constantine.
No, he would not. Man, it willingly entreats with demons.
Yeah, he'd be like, what the hell is this shit?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few other characters that I could see Isobel liking, or like being similar to. She'd probably really like Oracle.
Oh yeah, I can see that. That'd be a cool day. But you said vibes like Constantine, but not Constantine, Scott. So who?
Yeah. That's a good question. So firstly, I'm not entirely convinced that Arthur would read any kind of comic or graphic novel that was presented to him.
That's why it was. It's a hypothetical.
Yeah.
No.
Supposing he would. Ooh, that is a good. I don't know. I get the feel that he'd like kind of resonate with like Jonah Hex a little bit in his like way of dealing with some of the stuff, and be kind of like while like Arthur's all about atonement, I think he's kind of like there's like this semi-vengefulness to him, right? He's angry about like the way he was treated and stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Which is an interesting thing, because I think part of the reason why I've been portraying him as like not quite so the way that he was is because he's dealt with his major thing, right? Like he's past that now. He's moving into a different evolution of Arthur. So he's not as angry because he doesn't have to deal with the fact that everyone that he cares about is not safe anymore.
All right. So what we're hearing is, and we should break this down for the next like big like staff meeting, is Arthur's spinoff where he gets sent back in time and meets Jonah Hex. That's what I'm hearing.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be a pretty good show.
Nice.
But thank you both. I like asking these questions, and I always appreciate you guys indulging me. But Saul, take it away.
Aubrey, the little bit that we got at the beginning of the episode, was that something that you had planned out with BP ahead of time, or was that just sort of like something to do to make up for the fact that you had to miss the previous session?
I mean, part of it was, the fact that I was moving that day and I couldn't make it to the session. The fact that Isobel has been for the last year had to deal with a kindred from the area for blood and or information, and in return keeping him out of any systems and giving him blood. That's something we established between seasons. It hasn't been brought up yet because Isabel's not exactly willing to broadcast that fact. I didn't really know too much about this character. BP held a lot back, and then kind of surprised me with being like, "Oh, what is this person like?" And I was like, I hadn't thought about that."
Yeah, never give BP an opening like that, because she will run with it.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Yeah. I didn't think I was creating my own form of damnation, but apparently I was.
Yep, that's what I mean.
Damnation comes from the weirdest places.
It does. But BP knew for like because I'd known about this move for like a couple of months. So BP knew before the season started. So we had like planned out that like I'm not going to be gone this week, so Isabel will get pulled away for something. I guessed it was probably going to be to deal with her contact. So,
and then what a thing to come back to.
Yeah, what a thing.
I mean, you came across the cell just making new friends, honestly. And what more could you want?
With all of the same efficiency that the cell usually displays.
It's so efficient. I'm really glad I at least succeeded on one of those dice, so I didn't have to bring Arthur back from the brink of death.
Oh, I did actually want to note, I did clip that little moment you were having with BP, because there's like a sentence where it was just like, you were rolling like 5 drama die and you didn't get anything on any of them. You're like, well, I roll well when they're not around.
Yeah, it's a thing.
When I'm on my own, I do great, was kind of what you said. And I was like, hey. But yeah, Scott, Arthur got to throw down again. How'd that feel?
It felt okay. I mean, it wasn't the greatest set of rolls, but also, Arthur finally encountering it's actually really interesting that the fight went down the way that it did, because in literally the last 2 journal posts, which I was a little behind on, so they kind of got posted like earlier that day. Arthur's now really kind of, after seeing Rosanna's use of like magic and stuff, he's kind of questioning like, what is the source of my power? Is it really God? Right. So he's having this like moment of faith where he's questioning where his power is coming from. And then it fails on him pretty significantly. So it was really interesting. I'm going to formulate the journal for this week, because I was like, it's gonna raise some questions in his head, and like the meta question of like, by questioning, am I causing problems for myself? So I actually thought it was kind of cool to see it play out the way that it did, and not like it's cool, I can just rip a werewolf's heart out, it's all good. Because this did not work out nearly as well as he thought it would, by like a lot. So it was cool to get him back into, getting his mojo on, and then only to have that not work nearly as well as he was expecting it to.
A wake up bite, so to speak.
Yeah. A humbling reminder that he is mortal.
Yeah, and then there was just well, never mind, you were passed out for most of it, so
Yeah.
the last like hour and a half, so I was gonna be like, yeah, what about that time? Oh no, never mind. Well, I can ask you
about that time that you were unconscious,
and Rosanna was crying over your body, didn't hear see it. How does that make you feel?
I mean,
yeah.
So one of the interesting things is that was like that bit was not, we didn't, like, obviously we didn't plan it, right? It's just kind of going off things, but it was like very reminiscent of the situation where she was unconscious and Arthur was watching over her, right? And I thought that was a neat little like mirror effect of like the characters like worried about the other ones. And so for Arthur to wake up to Rosanna, right, that is not unexpected, but like it is a development in what's going on with them, because he can't deny the fact that when he was unconscious, apparently she was watching over him, which is exactly what he was doing when she was unconscious. So there's clearly that thing that's in the background going on that he can't really deny. So it's cool, and it's cool the way that Legacy went forward with that whole situation. Like I quite enjoyed that as me Scott, watching that happen.
Fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something is up with my microphone sensitivity, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
It's just too sensitive.
Yeah, like it keeps flagging every time I like shift in my chair and stuff, and I'm going, okay, what is happening?
Stop. What?
Yeah, exactly. Stop, microphone.
Just tell the microphone to stop.
Unnecessary.
No, my cat was freaking out over something and was like, please do not do that.
I do believe that is what cats do, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You don't understand. It's everywhere.
So I have a question for both of you.
Yeah.
Ready?
The main thing that hunters and cells, or cells of hunters in general, just have on their hands is the ability to prepare. Why does the cell not prepare as much?
Well, I think one thing is people keep letting Arthur just do Arthur. That's a problem, because he no prepare nothing.
I mean, the few times that we were worried about things happening in season 2, Isobel prepared.
Mm-hmm.
She was not here this time to prepare.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can barely hear you both of the shots being fired next to my ear. Goddamn, Saul. Sorry, I just had to wait you talk, but I'm like, dude, old shit. Also, why? Yeah.
No, he's not wrong. Our cell is incredibly bad at preparing for situations, and I am not like I can't speak for everyone. I can say that the way that I have Arthur, he doesn't prepare. He just walks into every situation assuming that he is always prepared,
I've
but
noticed.
also never prepared. You know, and like in previous situations. So I think what it is that I mean, in the first season, we kind of had no clue what was happening, like at any point, and so we never really prepared for anything. We were running, and that was it. We just kept running into situations, and so for that whole dynamic of how they work, like it started off with whatever they had prepared for, it was not what they encountered, and so for me, I just continue to roll the idea that Arthur is not a preparer guy. Just not how he works, and that's not how he hunts. He relies on the others to do the preparing for him. And in this case, like, we'll be all real and stuff. This whole scene that happened with the vampire was him. Like, they wanted to run away. They wanted to leave. They wanted to just leave it there. And he's like, nah. So because Piper and Rosanna let Arthur dictate that situation, that's how it went down.
I'm
gonna be real. I know it. You let Arthur dictate that situation. That was not the best way to handle that.
And then Isobel was not there to be a kind of voice of reason.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
like
it's your fault.
Well, and you know, Aubrey's not wrong here, because I was like giving them the opportunity to try to explain what they could do, like when I was like Arthur's standing in the door, like calling them and talking to them, you know. And they went with Arthur's plan, which was, we're gonna go in here and we're gonna do something about this.
I remember I was watching it live while I was building my computer desk, and I was like, "The fuck are they doing?" Literally, I think I stopped watching around the time you found the vampire, but I just kept going. What are they doing? Why are they doing this?
Yeah. So I mean, so we had a chance to go, okay, let's regroup, make a plan for how we'll deal with this, and then we can come back and deal with it. Arthur, we promise we will deal with it, but let's give us a chance to figure out what's going on.
Wait
but
till
instead
everyone's there.
Yeah, instead it went, all right, Arthur, we'll take care of this with you. And then it was just all reactions from that point forward.
It just gives Isobel great fodder for next time Arthur comes up with a plan.
Yeah. Rule number 1 of the cell: don't listen to Arthur's plan. Plan something else.
Exactly.
I kind of feel like
because Arthur's plan is we go in and just start kicking doors down and lighting things on fire. That's the plan.
Arthur thinks he's in a 90s action movie, and he's in like a horror.
Yeah. He's in Wreck.
He thinks he's Rambo. He's actually just the main characters from Lost Boys.
I just had a terrible thought. I want Arthur in The Thing. I want him to take the place of the main character from The Thing. Yeah, McCready. That would be the wildest thing.
Obviously, we don't need the flamethrower. I'm just gonna punch it.
Yeah, replace the flamethrower, but no, because like his whole shtick, right, is he's the hand of God, and like that's so why would the hand have to prepare? He just moves, So, yeah, I mean, it would be any kind of situation that you put him in. He would essentially just start going like, all right, I'm gonna start killing people till I find which one's the bad guy. That's what's gonna happen here.
We gotta flip this real quick. Aubrey.
Yeah.
Isobel left being like, okay, they'll be fine for a little while. They weren't.
Yeah, they were not.
They weren't. Nope.
I think it was less of they'll be fine and more of, dear God, I hope they'll be fine. I hope they don't leave San Diego.
Yeah. But like,
and then we promptly left.
But you still got to handle your business, but it's clear that they can barely handle theirs. So how is Isobel feeling right now? No offense, Scott, but at the same time, offense.
I mean, there is a bit of like Isobel thought like she was like doing good. She was even like she was getting herself in with the people she wants to get in with, and trying to not bring too much attention to herself, and still keep up with what she is studying and trying to understand, and everything kind of, she came into the end of that, and it's like, okay, I have to patch Arthur up. He needs recovery time. And then we have these people who it's like, yeah, I'm being noticed, but I don't think it's in the best way.
So how do I phrase this? Is it in your best interest to keep up with the cell then? They're just kind of getting in your way, aren't they?
I mean, it's not like she wants to be part of the Second Inquisition to hunt vampires. She wants something that's inside and she wants to get it out. So it is going to be interesting. What happens next session for sure. I mean, especially with Isobel last session. How we ended the session.
Look with your eyes. I'm gonna rephrase this. Will you stay with the cell just long enough to get what you need, or are you just gonna stick with them because you want to stick with them?
I think it's a big question that she's gonna have to ask herself. Especially because what she needs may not be, the people in the cell may not agree with.
Certain individuals, notwithstanding.
Certain individuals.
Well, I mean, if you plan correctly, you know that a certain individual won't plan for whatever you may plan for, so I think you can handle it.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you're playing a game of chess against Arthur, you're gonna win because if you plan your moves, it's like chess. I think is probably the best example. So if we're playing a game of chess between like Isobel and Arthur, Arthur's gonna lose that game of chess if Isabel's doing any planning whatsoever because Arthur's just gonna keep reacting to whatever she does and be happy he's taking pieces off the board, not realizing he's playing right into whatever she plans to do with the game. So.
I want to see Arthur play charades.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was so off cuff, but I just thought of it. I'm like, let's think of party games he shouldn't play.
Yeah. The using the chess analogy though, you have to be prepared because once he realizes that you've checkmated, he's just going to flip the table.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that.
Arthur playing checkers. God damn it, flips table. Arthur playing figure eight. God damn it, flips table.
Exactly.
Arthur playing charades. He finds a table to flip it.
But no, on the note though, like that's actually a cool question to ask for everyone with their characters because like do they like every one of us has our own thing going on. So like at what point does the cell become not really helping us achieve what we're trying to achieve,
Yeah. I mean it's gonna be a very interesting episode with what Isabel's gonna have to tell you. Luckily Arthur's in bed and can't fight.
Yeah, about the only thing going on right now is that Arthur is just laying there being like, sure, yeah, just wait until I can move around, then we might have a more interesting conversation. But right now, I'm just going to stare at the ceiling. Yeah,
ignore the eyes of the beast.
I just like he's obviously not going to just lay in bed and stare at the wall and be like, all right, I'm fine. No, he's going to anger through it and just be like, I'm healing faster. Damn it.
Is that an ability in the Hunter book? Because that would be amazing.
Just rage your way into better health.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe got some werewolf blood in you after all. Goddamn.
I mean, we have no idea what the long-term effects of the bite are, right? I'm just kidding.
You have been eating your steaks awfully rare lately.
True. But no, but the question, that's a good question because we all have to ask like with our characters, like at what point, like I know you all, if you watch season 2, which I know you all did, there was actually a point when Arthur was questioning whether or not the cell was helping him achieve what he wanted because he felt pretty attacked at some points where it's like, listen, I just want to get Katie Lynn safe, like I don't give a shit about Loki. I don't give a shit about anything else. And that was the thing. And then it was like, maybe you should just leave him, So like, there's a question, like at what point do the characters like have to ask themselves, is the cell serving the purpose I want? It's a good question. That's a solid, could talk for an hour about that question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you say, when should they ask themselves that question? Probably when one of you's bedridden from a vampire bite.
And one of you's now a ghoul.
That too. Especially that. That's a big one.
At least they're not a ghoul to the same vampire. That'd be really messy.
Yeah, it would. But it's a question because it comes to like the classic sort of hunter groups kind of questions, because like if they're working to achieve a goal, like let's say that the plan is we have to figure out how to unghoul Isobel, right? Okay.
Wait a month.
How do we work together to do that, right? And that's the question. The cell then works together to try to achieve that purpose. Then the cell's working together toward the goal. But if person's like, I actually like being a ghoul, I don't know if the cell's serving my purpose to get where I want, then they have to like be like, then there's the drama of they're going to walk away from the cell, but the cell like still has to figure out what to do about the fact that one of their friends has now become a ghoul, like it's a deep question, man. That was a good question.
So here's an even deeper question for Arthur, actually. Well, I mean, it's a cell achieving your goals. Do you really even want to be here anymore? Like, well, I guess I guess we can keep going down the rabbit hole. We should move on.
Well, I mean, so I think we had part of this discussion in the last After Dawn.
We did. That's why I'm so like, yeah, I think it was with you as well. It's like, I mean, are you gonna keep rocking it? But like, one of them's a ghoul, one of them's rocking Fey magic. One of them, you're pretty sure the NSA is actively hunting down, or worse, probably someone worse than the NSA is hunting down Piper.
The IRS. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't kid about that. They're listening, dude. I mean, this is a recording. They'll find it. But no, it is the same question again, so I wanted to avoid it. Because your stance probably hasn't changed. It's just gotten the circumstances have gotten more severe. About 3 days. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so there, I mean, there's a whole lot going on. And you know, what's funny is this is the exact question that like Arthur is kind of trying to figure out in the journals, right? His journal entries are mostly me working out from Arthur's mind what the heck is going on, and should we stay together or should we run away from each other? Because this whole time Arthur has always had this thing running in the back of his head that he's gonna have to kill everyone, and then himself get killed, because everyone keeps walking farther and farther down this path. So it's just a continuous same thing with Arthur the whole time. Like, are we doing this right? I'm not sure we're doing this right.
Speaking of the path, though, got some ghoul stuff over there.
Yeah.
You enjoying being one?
I mean, it's interesting, and I think it very very much makes sense with Isabel's character arc. You know, like her choices in that moment made sense. It was like, even if this person that I'm trying to save is a ghoul, I'm a medical professional, and it's my job to try and save them. And so like it was either like pass out from blood loss, possibly die because she wouldn't have been able to stop the transfusion at the time, or become a ghoul. And like, at least it wasn't from like the vein or anything. So there's no actual blood bond that has been made. Like, yeah, sure, there's probably like increased feelings towards this person of, you know, just because it's messy, but it's not like it's like, to reference the last show, it's not like in City of Smoke with Alana and Logan where there was a blood bond between them. There is no blood bond between Jace and Isabel right now, so she's kind of getting any of the benefits from being a ghoul, and not really having any of the drawbacks currently. And she still has more vials. She has more blood. She's been doing this for over a year and collecting vitae and various things to study from vampires. So she's stocked for a while.
That's a weird way to phrase that.
She's just becoming that character in every one of these sort of supernatural shows that is going down that path of like slowly becoming one, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that fits with her drive of envy, and she is very much like, I mean, like the ends justify the means, and like when I was initially thinking about Isabel, this was actually dated back to some of like her becoming a ghoul with some of the original ideas I had for her, like that she would do it on purpose to herself because she wanted to study it. And there was a chance it might have happened in season 2 with Vincent, but it had the rest of the cell was there staring at her, so it would be a little hard. So
yeah, it's not an unexpected turn for Isabel.
Right. One big influence for her character is like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
And we're just becoming the most eclectic group, like the cell, like possible. Right?
Yeah, Hunter's already a bunch of weirdos, and you guys are just like really cranking it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't wait for the holy fist guy to start questioning whether or not his fists are holy.
That's what started happening, and then it went the way that it went. So
Oh, it's getting worse.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
So there's that because it does lead to those kinds of things where it's like, are we going the right path? What are we doing? And then can we use all of this to do what we want, which is inevitably kill someone who ostensibly works for the people that hunt the monsters, which is literally what we do. It's like a really interesting little story we're creating here.
Mm-hmm.
And should we stop for Taco Bell? There is one on the side of the road. That's the last question.
Probably.
Yeah.
Arthur would say yes because he doesn't know how to cook.
Yeah.
Yeah, that requires planning.
Shit, you're right.
Yeah, let's just slide on into this next part because there's a lot of character details that we probably can't go into with Aubrey's stuff.
I mean, I can go into as much as I can.
We'll go into more of it. But I was going to say, to allow Scott to ask some questions about your character stuff, we were going to go into spill some tea. Everyone grab another cup. And then everyone...
We're in the tea segment, eh?
Yeah, spilling some tea. Everybody, all the cast members can ask each other questions. You can ask the host questions, and we can ask you each other questions, and everyone can ask questions. So, ask away. Spill some tea.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go for it.
Good. No, I mean, you got a question. That's fine.
I mean, it is very much just like trying to think of like how the beginning of next session is going to go. Oh,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. Like I'm intrigued to find out how the information. Like, okay, so we have Isobel is outside. Was it Patty or Tom? I forget. Was it Patty? Yeah. So she's outside with Patty. Patty encounters the eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what happens next? Because, like, does she explain the whole group, or is it just kind of like a thing between her and Patty? And then leads to the question of like, Patty has some, like, Arthur and Patty have some connection in that there's some loyalty and allyship there going on, right? But there's this, which I'm still trying to work out with Arthur, but there's also this thing between Patty and Isobel. So where does that lie? I know with Quiet, every time Arthur tries to approach Quiet's like, I'm not going to talk about Rosanna. Rosanna's business. And it leads to a question, is that going to be what Patty does? So I'm not going to talk about Isobel. This is Isabel's business. Isobel can tell you when she wants to tell you. And so, like, it's an interesting sort of situation. How do we find out about what's going on with Isobel? Because, I mean, I assume it's going to be done on Isobel's terms, right? And not just being, like, slapped in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I obviously the character, free will and whatnot. So, like, it's an interesting thing. How do we find out? Because if we don't, like, I know that from Arthur's perspective, if he don't find out from Isobel, it's not going to go nearly as well as if he finds out from Isobel. So that's sort of like the thing. And then, but he's also like super injured right now, and he's going home where he gets to see Katie Lynn and like try to make up for the lack of date night and stuff.
Yeah.
His mind's on a few things.
I do think there is the Isobel will probably tell the cell sooner than later, because fucking Piper switches on the wards and they explode because she's standing right next to them. She counts as a supernatural creature now.
Right.
True.
So yeah, no, she's planned to tell them sooner than later. She did not expect to come into this shit show. Because she kind of,
who could expect to walk into this shit show? Right? Like,
it's just true. Because I mean, she's still kind of in the. She believes what she said last time, that lying to each other has never gotten us anywhere. So she did plan, and it's just Patty has found out first, so she's going to talk to him, and she will tell the cell at some point, probably at a slightly better time. Probably still while Arthur's injured, so he can't just like explode about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And with her thing, it's just like she'll explain that she thinks that it is a means to an end. She does not know if she will continue it because she doesn't even know if it will stop. Because like I, out of character, know that like if she doesn't drink any more blood in a month, she will revert to a normal human. But she doesn't know that.
Right. Like the question becomes, how far has she studied this, and has that information come to her yet? Right.
Yeah. I mean, she studied some. She mainly focused on kindred themselves rather than the ghouls. It's very rare that people just stop being ghouls.
Right. I mean, even if she's injected Vitae into like a rat to see what happens to the rat over time.
I don't think she's gone that far yet.
Right. That would be how far she'd have to go to know that it will eventually wear.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, because aside from like interviewing a former ghoul, she wouldn't really be able to have access to that information.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it leads to the cool conversation about why Hunter is so interesting, because the hunters don't know anything. So as a storyteller, you can kind of be like, yeah, we're going to bend some rules because the hunters don't know any better anyway.
Exactly.
But yeah, so when you were doing this thing with Isobel, like were you hoping for a certain kind of change to happen to her when she became a ghoul, or was it totally kind of what you were like, you had nothing in mind and you got what you got and you were excited about it?
I was excited about it. I don't really have much in mind. Like I knew that one of my end goals for her was probably being embraced at some point, because I feel like that's what she's working towards. And the ghoul thing was a thing, and I was like, it's a possibility. I always like kept in the back of my mind, like if she ever got really interested. She's never been hit by anything in 2.5 seasons, or in a season and a half. Like since like she did not get injured at all from the werewolves because they kept trying to take out my gun rather than me. She's probably like been injured, but like she's never been to a point where she was worried that she like might not recover. That's like a time where she probably would have been like, I know this could heal me because I've read about what it can do. I don't know anything else what it will do to me. And I mean, that kind of came up in that little side story of the I can drink this and keep going and make sure this person is going to survive, or I could pass out, possibly die, and they will also possibly die. So for her, like in her mind, it was like an easy choice to make. It is like, I want this person to survive, so I'm going to make this messy choice, because in the end, I think it'll be worth it.
Now, as the cell's medical character, do you think that presenting the idea that there's this, like, you have this ability to heal, as it were, like in your back pocket, going to be a help or hindrance when the party understands that it was the choice you made to be able to do your job? But based on the fact that now they might question, or Arthur specifically might question, whenever you try to heal him.
I mean, there was a moment where I out of character, and probably Isobel in character, thought, I have 2 more vials. That would be a surefire way to make sure Arthur doesn't die. Like literally, if I hadn't done so well on my medical rolls, she might have done that.
Ooh.
Yikes.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah, no, that thought entered my mind, especially if she'd gotten there later. and there was a real danger. And she knows this because like that's how she was able to pull through. And it's like 2 vials of Vitae. For her, it's just like it's an interesting question that she will bring up, knowing these things. And one of her plans is to study herself over the next several weeks, because it will be there for 2 weeks or so while Arthur's recovering. Like that's one of the things she's going to be doing. She's going to be studying the changes in her body because of becoming a ghoul. Like, what does this mean?
Could you imagine if you'd had to resort to the instant heal factor?
It would have been very interesting.
Now I'm like, just in my mind, the thought experiment of what would happen if Arthur became a ghoul?
Yeah. I mean, he probably wouldn't realize it until some weird shit started happening. And it's not like instant heal. You would just be healing faster.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there would probably be this complicated thing that would happen in his head, right? On the one side, okay, maybe this is more of the power of God coming through.
Isobel, yes, the power of God. Totally.
Absolutely.
How do we keep the knife pointed in the right direction? How do we do this?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But she was able to heal you enough that she respects Arthur's autonomy. Like, the only way she would have done that is if he was in great danger of dying and she was not doing well on her medical rolls. She did well on her medical rolls. So, it was her choice to become a ghoul. Like, in that moment, she wouldn't want to rob someone of that choice. And I think if she is offered a chance to become a kindred, she will probably take it.
Yeah, that's pretty complicated.
Thought a lot about it over the last week.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe less complicated for Arthur if she makes that choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does lessen some complications in Arthur's head because he's like, well, here we are. I knew we'd get here eventually.
I mean, the other ideas are like things get weird and fucky because she has kindred vitae. Like, what happens if she, does get really injured and injects herself with that stuff? Like, does it have to be directly from a kindred when a person is dying?
Yeah, it does lead to a nice little thought, right?
Does she accidentally turn herself into a kindred?
Yeah. How much can she take before it's just now she's vampire?
Honey, I'm suddenly a kindred.
Yeah. I mean, it would be an even different thing of like, I was either this or I die. And I didn't want to die.
It's almost like you're setting the character up, like you're setting Isobel up to be to that be the end of her story in the season, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. And who would blame her for like accidentally becoming kindred? And then what do you do in kindred society when you accidentally became one? Right?
It's a great question.
Depends on the group you fall under, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
And then just sort of her just the juiciness of her having these ties to someone very important in the Second Inquisition. Someone she views as a mother figure, who she also feels has kind of lost her way.
Spin-off series, Isobel the Kindred amidst the Second Inquisition.
Year 100, they still don't know that I'm not human.
I do think if she does accidentally embrace herself, she's going to find either Jace or Vincent and get their help.
Such a wild sentence.
I mean,
I know.
It is
You
a
actually
wild
embraced you. I
sentence.
did it myself. I'm sorry. Huh?
You see, I was dying from several gunshot wounds. I had vials of Kindred Vitae. Don't ask. I injected myself.
In this exact spot I need to know. Don't ask why I know that. And like everything was prepared for this to happen. It was just a mistake, though. It was totally.
It didn't mean for it to happen yet.
What the fuck happened to you? So I need you to watch this movie. It's starring Rick Moranis. Is about 30 years old, and I'll get back to you in a few minutes. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Shit, wrong one. No, watch it. No, we were back. So I don't. Y'all are just a mess.
Yes.
It's so messy.
They're a crew on an HHS stream. Of course they are.
I know, but it's getting messier, and we're trying to clean up past messes. There's so much. What do we do?
So that like leads to the question: who cleans up after the people that clean up? Right? Like, it's a good question.
Well, I'm pretty sure they're coming to kill you. That's the answer.
Yeah, I mean, we got phone calls that we're waiting for. It's either the Second Inquisition or the Justicars that will kill us.
You know, I've thought about this, right? And I'm still thinking in my head, like, what exactly as like this? There's some things the cell has done as a whole for us to like be on a radar, but what exactly has certain individuals done? Like Piper's done some illegal stuff for sure.
Just real quick, I'm going to answer part of that question. You're fucking leading a cult.
Yeah, but the cult's not bad. Like, we're not a bad cult.
It's still
a cult.
It also had associations with a fucking Norse god. The Norse god's not here anymore, but they still were there.
It's also big enough where you have IRS attention. It's a
sure.
It's the only thing stopping it from being a super church is that you're not renting out the freaking Superdome just to like have a speech or some shit. Like that is, you have multiple compounds across the country
and in Europe.
Sorry, you want more kerosene for this fire? I can get some.
Yeah, but it's not like, you know, because I like classify cults. There's two different kinds of cults, right? So like, here's the thing about cults. Every religion,
break it down for us.
Yeah, okay. Every religion started as a cult. And so the what makes it a religion is really actually time. That's in anthropological terms, a cult becomes a religion over time. And so in anthropological terms, this cult may become a full church in about 50 to 100 years. We're just in that early 20-year period, right? And so as a cult goes, yeah, it's a cult, but it's not a bad one. It's not like they're doing a bunch of crimes that are just massively illegal stuff that they're doing. They're not coercing or convincing people to do things that they, like just leave their families and steal their money and kidnap their kids or whatever. Like, they're not doing any of that stuff that makes them a bad cult. They're just a weird sect of like Hollywood Christianity, essentially. And so like, they're not bad. Sure, they have a bunch of tax problems. That is true. But that stems from their former leader and not necessarily the organization as a whole. And there is a distinct difference between those things because, as we know in real life, cult leaders have been arrested and are in jail, but the cult itself is still existing. So that's a thing. So I'm actually like intrigued to know where all of this is going with that particular regard.
Yeah, they're keeping an eye on you because you're a cult leader. That was kind of my point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But other than you know,
leading a cult,
potentially disappearing every now and then and showing up in places where the evil is, what exactly is going on that's so wrong? You know,
I will say in the past year, you have popped up and disappeared from areas where active supernatural activity has occurred near one of your cults.
Yeah. About the only thing I think they could like kind of put on like an Arthur, particularly being a cult leader, is the stuff that happened in season 1, because that was kind of our fault. So I could see them being upset about that. That was our fault. I will admit that, and Arthur will openly admit, yeah, that was our fault. But hey, on that other side, I was actually going, I think this is our fault, and we're doing it wrong. So, but
and
yeah,
they got
but
eyes on Isobel because Isabel's poking them in the right place to get that attention.
Right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Your Vitae is showing.
Just a little.
Fuck right on you.
Here's a napkin.
Dab, dab, dab.
There you go.
But it's an interesting conversation to have, because then there's also the conversation of like, what does an org do with hunters, right? Because like ostensibly the organization and hunters are sort of antagonistic toward each other, right? But in the idea that the organization thinks there's a right way to do things, and the hunters have a different opinion on what that is. But that doesn't necessarily mean that all organizations and all hunters are opposed to each other. Now, people have opinions on how the Second Inquisition is working to do their job. And our biggest problem that as far as Arthur's perspective is concerned, the biggest problem we have toward the Second Inquisition is Rin. And that's just Rin, not necessarily the organization as a whole. So it is an interesting situation to be presented with. Like, is this organization actually antagonistic or not?
Yeah.
Right. So it is a conversation to have. And I know that we're going to encounter at some point when we actually encounter the organization, which we know we were going to have to, because we have to, if we want to get to Rin, we're going to have to encounter the organization. And then we as a cell have to have this discussion. Are they the baddies? And see where that falls in our conversation.
Probably.
I mean, of course, from Vincent's perspective, yeah, for sure.
I mean,
we had this discussion on a previous afternoon about like how like okay, so we had the conversation about they firebombed part of Chicago and stuff, right? Like this conversation. How do these actions feel? Like literally Arthur was considering burning the entire building down to kill one vampire, but realized that would cause injuries to a bunch of innocent people, and he couldn't do that. Yeah. So it is a conversation to have.
Oh yeah, totally.
If his filter wasn't there, right, considering the lives of the other people that would be injured in this process, he probably would have burned the building down, and then we would have had this whole because he just would have lit the building on fire and been like, all right, that's the end of that. But he's too innocent.
Probably gotten a call for a different reason.
Yeah, then we would have been in trouble for arson, which absolutely would have been Arthur's fault, and then there's much more like at stake there.
Yeah.
So now he's a cult leader that also burns down buildings.
Now he's upgraded from just doing reality crimes according to the technocracy to law crimes according to everyone else.
Right? Fair.
Can you imagine the technocracy showing up in front of Arthur and being like, we know what your power is. And he's just like, could you
explain it to me?
You're a wizard, Arthur.
I think that would be the best plot twist ever. Because Arthur's head would explode, and I would love to watch that.
I don't think I could have enough clips of that moment of just like the long 30 seconds of silence while you're processing this information. Like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I could just kill them all and pretend it didn't happen. Yeah, good plan.
He does have a specialization against mages. So, I mean...
You are your own worst enemy.
Yep. I mean, it was a conversation I had with BP actually about the specializations, because I was like, how many things can I make Arthur specialized against? And she's like, well, you haven't encountered some things. So I was like, that's the only reason why I haven't written them down on the list yet. But everything that we've encountered, Arthur then spent time studying about so that he could kill it better.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be so much fun when I call in my favor from Jace.
Yeah.
These are my friends. Don't worry about them. Arthur, please don't kill my friend.
Already thinking 8 ways to kill him.
Or it's like, we're going to need some backup, and just Vincent knocks on the door. Hello. Arthur's like, fuck.
Briggs knocks on the other door. Hey, still alive, motherfucker.
I live, bitch.
I live, bitch.
That, I actually will say that the Vincent situation presents a particularly interesting point from Arthur's perspective, because he's still working out the vampire mage thing,
Mm-hmm.
and he does have specialization in both vampire and mages. So it's like, I would see that actually being a more complex thought process for him, trying to determine which of these ways am I supposed to use against this person, because one way works, one way won't work. I'm going to wear the sunglasses so we can't bend my mind, but it actually doesn't work. This is a funny story that Arthur's convinced of, by the way. He doesn't have thwart the supernatural. That's Piper's thing. He doesn't actually have the ability to stop the mind control.
And that was the sound of a note being taken.
Yep.
Yeah. Any other questions, y'all? Ask each other something. Ask the host anything. Yeah.
Well, I guess I do have another question for Aubrey.
Yeah.
So you only have you're a ghoul with some disciplines.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how far those extend? Like, is there any cool things that she can do aside from the Eyes of the Beast?
For Eyes of the Beast, I don't know how much we're going to stick to like how ghouls work in V5. But because I read through, because there's a section in the player's guide on how to play a ghoul. There are ghoul specific merits and flaws that, like, if she keeps this up, I'll probably send 1 or 2 of them to BP being like, can I have this? Because this would make sense. There's one flaw specifically that means, like, if people have things, they read you as kindred, and I think that's perfect. And there are a few ones, and essentially is through enough time and enough blood imbibed, a player ghoul can get multiple level 1 disciplines, based on whatever their Domitor is.
Yeah.
And there may be, like, she may start getting stronger or faster, and I'm 50% sure that Jace is a gangrel. It's gangrel or Bruja. That's really where my money is.
Please let it be Malkavian. That'd be the funniest thing.
I didn't get Malkavian, though, from him.
I know, that's the best part about Malkavian.
But the thing is, I got Protean.
Yeah.
That's my big reason why Malkavian instantly got scratched off the list. Like, Bruja is a possibility with a certain feeding type.
Actually, just a very physical Zamisi.
That could also be a possibility. I did think that Zamisi was possible. And it would be hilarious. Because Jace doesn't even know he has a new ghoul.
Yeah. So there's a path. There's like an avenue essentially to go down where you gain more of those abilities.
Yeah. You'll still never be as powerful as like regular kindred, but you can get more abilities. Like, the more blood you drink and the more time you spend with your Domitor.
Interesting. Cool.
Okay, just to be perfectly clear, who had Isobel as the final boss in the bingo card?
That's what I literally was thinking about. She starts whipping out like claws and shit out of nowhere, and I'm just like, all right, doesn't matter what Rin's up to, we got to kill Isobel. That's the final boss.
But probably unlikely.
Probably.
I'm still gonna peg it at in terms of Death Note, a 7% chance.
No. I was waiting for Aubrey to be like, yeah, no, unlikely, and then it's like, Yeah, there it is.
I don't think she would ever. She on her own would never turn against the cell like that. But she doesn't know how they're going to react. So that is like literally like next session. So much hinges on next session. Like
I love how the response is, it's not out of the question.
It's not out of the question because I know how a lot of the self feels about Kindred. I don't think she would ever turn against them on her own, of her own volition. But she's not going to just let them attack her. She would be defensive about it. She would not try to hurt you, but she would not let you hurt her.
Right. She's not Arthur, and she wouldn't just like go, okay, well, I guess I gotta die, so go ahead and kill me.
Yeah. Remember, Gozer is loyal to me.
That's the other thing, isn't it? Ooh, that leads a different avenue, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The true final fight, Arthur versus Gozer.
Yeah, in the end, this is like I'm just in my head. It's like rainy day. Arthur's staring at the dog. And he's like, we always knew this was going to come down to this.
I'm sorry, Gozer. I didn't want to fight you this way. But don't look. This is just rain. It's not tears, man. I don't want to fight you, man. I don't want to do this. Real anime moment. I'd appreciate it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, if Jace is the one to turn her, and he's a gangrel, animalism.
That was the other side, right? Then there's that, and it's like, oh man.
Oh it's man, like, he already liked you, but now we're dead. Now he likes you, and he's gonna kill us. Any other questions, Joe?
I mean, just generally, like, they're not here, but I'm definitely interested in hearing everyone's thoughts on like the events of this session. I feel like there's a lot that happened this session, and a lot of choices were made. And it is like, is there? I want to know if there is a line that Rosanna will ever draw in that sand. I want to know that. I want to know if there's a point where, at what point does Rosanna draw it, like with Arthur? Like, where is that? Where does that exist?
You know what? Just before we wrap things up, I got an honest question for everyone here.
Mm-hmm.
Given how everything's going between Arthur and Rosanna, taking bets right now, Arthur versus Quiet. Let's take bets. I'm curious.
Well, Quiet has the high-powered weaponry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Quiet will win in a fight.
Yeah.
Arthur won't even know the fight started.
Also, Quiet's not even supernatural, so Arthur doesn't get those bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Mm-hmm. So in a fight between Arthur and Quiet wins, hands down.
Okay, but
as to who Rosanna chooses, is I have no clue. I think Rosanna needs to learn to let go of Arthur, and I don't know if that's a possibility that she will ever have.
I mean, no comment. I was gonna say no comment from the other half.
I can't speak to that. Well, I can't speak to that. I can't speak to that for spoiler reasons, as Legacy and I have actually had this conversation. So I won't speak to that. Because we've had a conversation. We have ideas and plans. Now circumstances do make it so like there's some level of improving that goes on, right? Like we have a general scope, but we can't plan for every session, right? Because things happen in those sessions. We just react to what's happening in the sessions based on the overarching sort of general plan we have. It's kind of the same way that I work with Clara and Katie Lynn. We have a plan, and then we react accordingly to what the situation is. Like the whole thing with Arthur telling Katie Lynn about monsters. Neither one of us knew if that was actually going to happen, but we did have an overarching plan of like that they would want to stay together regardless of whatever actually happens, right? And so that's the thing. So we had like a little bit of a but like there was also a thing where like Claire was like, Katie Lynn, it will leave if these certain things happen. And so I had to like figure out how to work those into how that whole situation played out.
Mm.
And it's the same thing with Rosanna and Arthur. We have an idea of where it could be, but we also don't know where it will go based on what happens in the sessions.
Mm. Oh, I mean, that's valid. Like, BP and I have had conversations about Isobel and her boys a few times. And like one specific question she asked me is like, would Isobel choose just one of them? And I was just like, that's a really hard question for her to answer. Like, I don't think she would ever choose unless she was forced to.
How do you pick one out of two Kit Kats, right? Like, it's like,
Yeah.
how do you do
What?
that?
That's not. No, that's not what we're doing here. Oh man, I like green apples, but this red delicious over here. But this green apple. That's not what we're doing. We're not.
Mhm.
Yeah, right.
It's terrible, Scott. Oh my god. All right. On that beautiful note, it has been an absolute pleasure, you two. It always is. Also, you guys just riff off each other is always amazing. I love this cast just talking to each other because it's like, yes, well, we don't have to do anything.
Mhm.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, whatever questions we may have written down were immediately answered by the both of you just talking. So appreciate that. Yeah, love you guys.
Especially if you let me talk about something like cults.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, all right, I'll let you have one. Go on a tangent. But so, do you want to wrap us up?
Sure thing. This has been After Dawn. Thank you all so very much for listening in. We release these episodes on Thursdays at noon, the week of their recording. However, you'll only get them if you're one of our patrons at the $5 plus tier. So think about subscribing so that way you can keep up to date with your Holidhaven news. I'm Solomon. Have a wonderful day.